Greetings all, Ferrariman601 here. Welcome aboard the Ferrari F2002 and welcome to the Sochi Autodrom in Sochi, Russia, site of course of this weekend's Russian Formula 1 Grand Prix. The Sochi Autodrom hosted its first Formula 1 race in 2014 on the heels of hosting the Winter Olympics. The lap record around this place is a 140.071, and that was set in 2015 by Sebastian Vettel. Why are we here? Well, it's not to show you the F2002 because I've done that before, and it's not really to show you Sochi either because I'm sure all of you, if you're not familiar with the circuit, you will be getting acquainted with it this weekend. Honestly, I just want to do some commentary on Tilkedromes, things of that nature. Herman Tilke, obviously the resident circuit designer for Formula 1 management, and he has designed most of the tracks that have come onto the calendar in recent years, including some tracks that are no longer on the calendar, like Turkey and India, both of which I actually think are profound losses, because out of all of the circuits he's designed, those two are by far the best, and my god, they're immense. But here we are at Sochi. It is a permanent circuit, obviously, as you can see by the huge grandstands, part of the Olympic Park that was set up for the Winter Games. It's a lot like Valencia, the old Valencia street circuit, with the concrete barriers and corners that all look basically identical. So we're going to do that, and just for fun, I figured we'd do it in the F2002 so you could get a sense of what a real Formula 1 car could do around this place. So we'll pop it into neutral and we'll get the engine started. There we are. And off we go for a few laps of Sochi. So the pit lane here, not too much to look at in terms of scenery, and that is the modus operandi for the entire lap, I am afraid. So there's the limiter line. We'll take this first lap as an install, basically, just get some heat in the tires and brakes. And as we're going around here, I will tell you about some landmarks that I use when I'm at this place. I'm not entirely sure how true to life this particular recreation of the circuit is, but I'm sure the drivers do a similar thing once they arrive here at the start of a weekend. So, this is turn 4, and you'll see most of these corners look identical to each other. Brake boards on the left there. Brake at about the 150 in this car for the straightforward 90-degree right. I call this turn 6, but it's a kink. This is turn 7, I call it. Turns 8 and 9 is really a double apex left-hander. This is turn 9. Again, it's a kink. Turn 10, you can see it looks almost identical to turn 4. It's very Spartan scenery around here. Again, you've got concrete barriers on either side for most of the lap. Not much to look at. This one is cool, turn 11. It's a blind entry. There's our landmark when the curbs just start coming in. And it's a 90 right, followed immediately by turn 12 and 90 left. And then, just like 8 and 9, it's a little finicky on the exit. It opens up tremendously. 13 to 14. 13 is off camber to the left, and the 14 is on camber to the right. Little squirt down to 15 and 16. It's not quite a double right, because the corner spacing, as you can see, is a bit far apart. And then 16 back onto the start-finish straight. Call this turn 1. It's basically a kink. Gets the curbs a little bit on the exit. Now the big stop. This is VMAX for the lap. Turn 2. Tires aren't quite up to temp yet, so a bit of rear locking. And then turn 3, this interminable left-hander. Goes on and on and on and on for about 180 degrees. It's ridiculous. Can't imagine what that's like for the drivers next. Here for the second gear. Turn 5. See a lot of curb on the exit. Braking for 7, you're turning to the right constantly, kind of like the approach to 11, except that one's to the left. So, Tilkedromes. This is a perfect example of one. You have terrible scenery. Everything looks identical, so landmarks for the drivers are difficult. My landmark for turn 11 is right there, where the curbs come in. That's when I stamp on the brakes, because if I actually take my eyes off the road, trying to look off to the side of the track, I'm just going to be seeing, let's see, concrete, signage, more concrete, more signage. Oh, there's the corner. You see? Get some tremendous audio reverb as you come down the start-finish straight though between the pit lane and the grandstand. Turn 2, the rear end still being a little unruly. Now, full disclosure, I did my first lap around this place almost exactly 24 hours ago. I put up that video of the Mercedes W06 going around here. There was very little practice before that lap was recorded. So I'm still trying to figure out the best lines through some of these corners, particularly on exit, because as you saw in the first sector, the exits are so friggin' wide that it's almost a little difficult to judge where the car is in relation to the exit curbing. Listen to the reverb here. Alright, now I can get on with some more snarky comments. Tilkedromes, you see this long straight. We're going over 200 miles an hour right here, and then slam on the brakes. If the car had a parachute, you would use it right there, because you need to go down from 200 miles an hour to 60 for that corner, alright? Now, yes, the cars are capable of that, but think of the implications, and we've seen this at pretty much every circuit Herman Tilke has designed. Why the hell would you design a track with a long straight that leads into a hairpin corner? You have 22 cars at the start, all fighting for the same piece of tarmac in a section of track that's no more than 100 feet wide. That's going to cause an accident. We've seen several big accidents happen over the course of Herman Tilke's tenure designing Formula One tracks. When the sport is hell-bent on safety as Formula One, why the hell would they incorporate that design element into new racetracks? Yes, I understand that you have several thousand acres of runoff at the end of all of those corners, but my God. I mean, Red Bull ran the stupid windshield in FP1. Why in God's name is that something we need to be thinking about rather than just the fundamental design of the tracks that these cars race on? I mean, they go to Monaco, for Christ's sake, and you don't see big accidents at Monaco usually. Why? Number one, the drivers respect it because there is no runoff, so they know they have to be careful. And number two, the speeds are not that high for most of the lap. The average lap speed at Monaco usually doesn't hit 100 miles an hour. Yet it's still a great spectacle because, well, hell, it's Monaco. So you run into a situation where the drivers are backed off into a corner, literally. And then you also have the Max Verstappens of the world who see that, I don't know, 50 miles of runoff on the outside of a corner and they say, oh, well, I can get it wrong and I can go somewhere and be safe. So drivers don't respect the problems that they're going to run into when they go 22 into 1. Next, most of the Tilkedromes look absolutely horrific on television. Remember the coverage of Valencia years ago? When was the last race there? 2009, I want to say? I can't even remember. It was that unremarkable. But I remember the first race they did there in 2008. It was so boring. I think Massa ended up winning that one, but it was so boring that I remember reading on the F1 Zone forum when that thing was still alive. The conversation went from like 150 people following it to 0 by halfway. It was absolutely ridiculous. See, other tracks that look terrible on television. Shanghai is one of them. It's another one where, from the TV view at least, all the corners look identical. Because you have tarmac and then you have Chinese smog. So that's not so picturesque. And then when we think about the racing that these things produce, I mean, Nico Rosberg won by 30 seconds in China? 30 seconds? I mean, I understand that the Mercedes is just centuries ahead of everybody else in terms of development, but close racing in that Grand Prix? I can't remember any. Bahrain, before they moved the race to a nighttime start, that was the same story. It was a procession. 2009 was infamous for that. And 2010, when they extended it to the endurance circuit, because, you know, why the hell not? I have no words. So Tilkedromes are unsafe fundamentally for drivers, despite all the runoff. They look terrible on television, and by and large they produce boring racing. So now we come to Sochi. Nico Rosberg was effectively gifted pole position because Hamilton had a failure on his MGU-H, which is the electric motor that's charged off of the turbo. And Vettel has a gearbox penalty. So we can expect Nico Rosberg to gallivant off into the distance while twiddling his thumbs. I mean, come on, he's going to be cruising around in that Mercedes. Will the Williams or the Red Bulls challenge at the start? Maybe, but probably not. And the only guy who could really give him a run for his money is Hamilton, and he's well and truly fucked. So there's not going to be much racing tomorrow afternoon either. In terms of a driving challenge, however, from my perspective here in Assetto Corsa, no, I've never been to Russia, I've never driven a Formula 1 car, I have never set eyes on Sochi in reality, but in terms of circuits it reminds me of, I'd say Abu Dhabi for the most part. I mean, this sequence here is almost identical to the sequence leading you to the hotel in Abu Dhabi. This reminds me a lot of the final corner at Abu Dhabi. Then I guess here we have that straightaway blast that Valencia was so infamous for. And then hell, a blind off-camber entry. Tilke must have been drunk when he designed that. I mean, he would never go for something so bold normally. I mean, reserve that for tracks like Imola or Manicourt. You know, real racetracks. And then this section here, again, very reminiscent of Abu Dhabi. So, this circuit reminiscent of a cross between Valencia and Abu Dhabi, two of my most despised racetracks. This car, however, Ferrari F2002, if ever a perfect race car were to be designed, this would be where you'd start, because this thing's sole purpose in life is to make you really happy. That's all I can say. It does everything you want, and the only ways in which it surprises you are very good ways. Like when you light up the rears on exit, and the rear end still stays planted. like that. Even if the tires are a little worn like they are now. And I just demonstrated that they're going off a bit. Now, if the cars were as exciting as this one, you know, with a V10 that's revving to insane speeds, making one hell of a noise as it does it, maybe some life would be breathed into this race tomorrow afternoon. But I think we're in for another snooze fest. Hey, that's what happens when you steal a little bit too much curb on the entry. But the F2002 just brushes itself off and says, all right, better luck next time. Let's go have some more fun. Looking down at the steering wheel there, not paying attention to where I was going. Yeah, those tires are going off. Pressures are actually pretty high because they're hot. You can feel it bouncing around on the rear a little. I have to say, turn 11 that's coming up right now, my favorite section of the circuit by far. Right here. Whoa. You're turning left, and then you gotta get it slowed down, and then you gotta turn right, and then you gotta turn left again, and then I fall asleep for another 3/4 of a lap. There is nothing too entertaining about this circuit. I am so sorry. Turkey, on the other hand, was immense. Turn 8 at Turkey with 5 apexes. Yeah. Never again will we see a design so bold. Moment of silence for the lost Istanbul Grand Prix. Alright. Well, that's what I think of Sochi, and hopefully you got to see a little bit of what the F2002 can do in the hands of a very experienced but somewhat lacking in skill driver. And I'll have a quick lap tacked on to the end of this video so you can see what it's like when I'm not quite as distracted. But if you're still watching, thank you very much. You can stop watching now. Ferrari Man 601 saying thank you.